I am going to invite Gordon Downs, who is CEO of the New York Shipping Exchange.
All right. Thank you, Brian. So the pain point we will be addressing today is that as a shipper, even though you may have a service contract, your cargo still gets rolled. And to solve this problem, I think we have to address the why this happens. And I think it boils down to this fact that no one knows how much cargo will show up on a specific vessel until it's too late to do anything about it. And I think to illustrate this problem just a little bit with a simple analogy, we will use some marbles. And I think let's just do this exercise. Imagine that your container or your cargo is represented by this marble, and you would like to book your container on this vessel. Straightforward enough. But the challenge is that there are many other shippers who also will be booking against the same vessel. And as we know in our industry, there's a pretty substantial problem with bookings that are booked, but of course don't show up or get canceled. And I think we all know that the way most carriers address this problem is by overbooking. And one of the challenges with overbooking to accommodate downfalls and booking cancellations is that sometimes you get it right and sometimes you get it wrong. So in this case, let's do the little analogy and imagine that these are all the bookings and this is the target vessel, and let's see if they can all be accommodated. So I think it's safe to say that in this little example, we had more bookings show up than were expected, and as a result, we had some rollings. And let's hope that this was not your cargo represented by the marble that got rolled. And I think that the reality of it is that when carriers are faced with a situation where there is more cargo than there is available capacity, each carrier has their own way of deciding which cargo to prioritize. To some extent, it's luck of the draw. But now, imagine that a carrier gave you a blue marble. A blue marble. And imagine the blue marble came with a guarantee that the carrier was going to load you. Wouldn't that be great? That would solve your problem. And I think what the technology we have developed and we'll share with you now, this helps you to address the challenge with the rolling situation. So let me explain to you how it works. So first of all, what carriers do is use the technology to publish the available capacity and price per sailing. The second thing is that using the technology, you can make a contract directly with the carrier, digitally through the exchange, and of course the exchange keeps track of who has what contracts and how much capacity is still left available on a specific sailing. And finally, very importantly, is that the role of NYSHEX is to secure every contract and then to track that every contract is fulfilled in the way that it was intended. So in the short time since we launched in August last year, we have shipped 4,000 odd TEUs, and we're very proud of this result, that over 99.8% of all the contracts that are made on the exchange have been fulfilled exactly as they were committed, which is a major improvement over the industry average, which most people will say is around 74%. So that's the theory. Let's take a look at the technology and see how it works. So when you join NYSHEX, I should just mention that it is completely free to join. The carriers bear the cost of the technology. When you join, we will set up a landing page or a dashboard for you with all the lanes with which you may be shipping. And the dashboard will summarize what is the price and the available capacity at that price. If you click on one of the tiles in the dashboard, it will drill through to all of the available offers that each of the carriers have made. Here you can see the key information about each carrier's offer, transit time, et cetera, et cetera. You can filter through the rest of the terms of the contract and understand exactly what is being offered. You can type in the number of containers you want. You click accept. You make a digital signature. And instantly, you have a digital and enforceable contract. And what the system does is once you make your contract, it does three things. Number one, it automatically files the contract with the Federal Maritime Commission. It sends that information directly into the carrier's contract management system, so they have a record of what was agreed, and they can make sure their downstream operations and booking teams, et cetera, plan for that. And it sends you, as a shipper, a copy of exactly what you agreed. So you have an independent validation of exactly what was agreed. And of course, the technology also keeps a record overall of all the contracts. And here's where it gets interesting, is that the technology then maps all of the carrier EDI data and compares that with what was contracted. And as you can see on this little example at the bottom of the screen here, there's a status bar that fills out in real time. So once a contract is booked, the system will say, okay, great, this milestone has been passed and the contract is booked. And if you get close to the booking window cutoff and someone hasn't booked it, the system will start to remind you, don't forget to book. And that applies for the container yard sort of cut or the gate in, and of course for other milestones like the shipped on board date and so forth. So the technology keeps track in real time of what's happening. This allows us to remind everyone to do the right thing and make sure the containers get loaded, but it also serves as a record if there's any breakdown, and it becomes very clear who was at fault for each breakdown in the process, and then it's easy for us to attribute who is responsible for whatever consequences may arise. So this is the technology. Let's take a step back. So in principle, what's happening is that a carrier is using this to tell you as a shipper for each vessel how much space is available and at what price, and you get this information in real time. And what's, I think, really cool about it is that it tells you for this vessel as well as for vessels well into the future. In some cases, 2 months into the future, in other cases, almost 6 months into the future. So you have a pretty good line of sight as to which vessels are potentially quite full. And for example, in this example, the vessel 4 weeks out looks to be quite full. And as a shipper, you can decide, well, do I want to target that vessel? Am I prepared to pay perhaps the premium to get on a vessel which is tightly space-pressed? Or perhaps I should plan in advance and try to target a vessel a week or two earlier or a week or two later in order to take advantage of a vessel that has more space and perhaps a better price. So in essence, this is what the exchange is doing for you as a shipper, helping you to plan and to make sure that you don't get caught with any nasty surprises. So when you think about it, it ultimately helps you to know in advance what capacity and price is available by sailing in order for you to plan. And that goes back to the fundamental premise, which is if the biggest cause of rollings is that people don't know how much cargo is going to show up until it's too late, this starts to address that problem. So as you think about this going forward, what I would suggest is that this is a wonderful tool for a shipper to use as a complement to service contracting. Certainly doesn't replace service contracting. This gives you an opportunity to make your service contract, and where you have cargo that needs to move on a lane which isn't covered by your service contract, or where you have volume which is in excess of your service contract allocation, this provides a wonderful tool to help you manage that overage or that new demand, if you want to call it that. And I think just a couple of things to keep in mind is that it is completely free. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to sign up. Once you sign up, it takes about 48 hours to do the compliance checks and do the carrier onboarding and validation. And then you're able to instantly start making online enforceable contracts. And I think last to say is that today on the exchange we have 6 great carriers. You can see the names listed up on the slide there. They represent all 3 of the major alliances, and all told, I think that group of carriers makes up about 52% of the world's container capacity today. So I think with that, I will hand it back to Brian.
Thank you, Gordon. So I forgot to mention that you can submit questions through Slido, but in a testament to how quickly the industry is adopting technology, a few people are already have submitted some questions. So the first one is, you have 6 carriers already. Who are next to join?
We don't know. There are lots of conversations with other carriers that are ongoing, but it's not clear.
It's hard to know. The next one is, what size BCOs are your target customers? Are you for the big or little guys, NVOs as well?
Yeah, so the exchange works equally well for BCOs and NVOs, no question about that. I think for a small to mid-sized shipper, it's incredibly valuable because you have all the protection from this guarantee that typically only very large shippers can benefit from. So I think it's a great value proposition for a small to mid-sized shipper. But that said, there are some large shippers that take advantage of it. The fact that it's free, it's convenient, it's digital, and like I say, even if you're a big shipper, you never know when you're going to need it.
I think we have time for one more question. And the question was, I'm not sure if I should pronounce it as ONE or if it is ONE, but are they part of this? Are you in talks with them at all?
Yeah, we are in talks with them. I think ONE have to go through their launch and so on, and then we'll see how that evolves. But yeah, certainly we're involved.
Great. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Sure.